Okay, this is Wave of Action UK, and we're going to tell you about a few events that we've got up and coming in the next couple of months. The first one being on the 21st of June this month, London Trafalgar Square. The first one's the meditation event. Peter, do you want to talk about that one?
And we've got a mass meditation at 11 o'clock in Trafalgar Square, and we're just going to sit round and bring in the Summer Solstice with a nice group meditation, and hopefully get people passing by joining in.
It went really well at the last one.
It was really nice, the last one. It's amazing how still London can become. David might not be able to make it this time, and his bowl had a lovely tone. I really manages to come.
Yeah, that was excellent. He added the right tone to that event, and people sat there. It was so quiet for Trafalgar Square, so quiet. Couldn't believe it, because even the people around didn't really want to make any noise because they didn't want to disrupt what was going on. It was a good moment.
It was good. It was amazing how still the city became.
Yeah.
When you just close your eyes and things like that. And people who I didn't think would joined in. Regular protesters that we see out and about, that maybe meditation's not really their thing. They all sat down and took part, and I think Chris hadn't meditated before, had he, from UK Patch?
Yeah, UK, that was his first time meditating, wasn't it?
And I think that converted him, didn't it? He's taken it up now.
Yeah, he has. It's quite good, really, when you think about it. There was quite a few there, and like you said, the people that walked past, they kind of just they stood, looked at what we were kind of doing quietly, and carried on. But it was quite serene, really.
Wave of Action launch, I reckon that bit, the meditation, we had more interaction from people passing by than the entire day.
Yeah, definitely. That was the most
and engaging.
That was the most beneficial part. It kind of made people stop and ask what was going on, and they questioned it. A bunch of people sat in Trafalgar Square, just sat there quietly. A lot of them didn't know what was going on, but that's 11 o'clock, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trafalgar Square.
12. Well, but Summer Solstice about 11:45, I think.
Okay. And then we're joining the People's Assembly, aren't we?
Yeah.
What time?
At 12, we're going to start getting ready for the tube ride.
Yeah.
We've got of course, Boris has announced now that he's going to buy 3 water cannons, and he's going to test them, and he gets fire them at him.
Yeah.
Reckons they're not that bad, despite people losing their eyes. And there was that one that came over from is it Dimitri?
Yeah.
Came over from Germany and spoke at the thing, but more recently there was I think a journalist was hit at protests, weren't they? They were badly hit.
So many people oppose it, not just protesters but other people. But I think the fact that they're trying to use the London riots as a reason for canons, when the London riots are completely different from protesting, activism, that kind of thing. You're talking about something they're going to use on people that bring their kids to events.
Well, the thing that concerns me is that in the actual briefing from some anti-austerity protesters, and that concerns me, that wasn't about rioters, that was about people protesting.
Well, when you think about it that way, the People's Assembly on the 21st it's called an anti-austerity demo, and they're genuinely never any real hassle at any of these demos, and they're a decent bunch of folk. I can't understand why you would use a water cannon on the type of people, especially you'd have Caroline Lucas, Russell Brand. Are they going to use cannons on people like that? They're part of it. They're going to be talking on that day.
I mean, we all had already planned before Boris' announcement to take a protest on the Underground as a sort of, you can't get us if you get the water cannons, which we're doing at 12 o'clock. We've got the Beach Fiends flash mob, haven't we?
And we're hoping that everyone sort of helps along and plays a bit of a part. We need to make this kind of eye-opening, so people want to ask us what we're doing. We it's going to be a funny, non-threatening thing to watch, and people hopefully will interact with us and come up and say, why are you dressed like that in the middle of London? You know, the kids will love it. The kids would love it too. There's no badness to it whatsoever. But I'm going as Patrick Starfish.
And I'm SpongeBob, so you
just say hello. We're going to be there. But if you can, it'd be really great if people could try and get an outfit, and we could get a bunch of sea life and beachwear walking through London. That'd be really great. It's an eye-opener. It's something that would catch the attention of people, and possibly the media. You never know. We might get this out to people who need to hear it more.
Yeah, even if it just means getting inflatables and, you know, just joining in with the spirit. You know, all of us getting on the tube with beach balls, costumes and things like that. People are going to want to know what we're doing, you know, why we're doing it. And it's going to be fun, most of all. And I think it's an important message that we can always find a way.
Yeah.
You know, what precautions you bring out to stop us protesting, we will always find a way around it. And if we take it on the underground, you know, that's pretty much can't get us here.
Water cannon down there.
And I think that's the thing that we have to think. And like, we've got the funeral for democracy in July, and say Theresa May gives the go-ahead for these cannons to be used.
That would possibly be one of the events it would be used at first, I would have thought.
Yeah, or any, you know, you've got Anonymous, Million Mass March and things like that. They might want to try and get a test out before that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think this is what it's because of the Million Mass March last year. They lost control. They admitted they lost control. They said it on that Channel 5 programme.
I think they were just lucky that they hadn't annoyed or irritated the UK public to a point where they got reckless. I think it was quite good that the public, as they were, that it didn't get out of hand and no real serious damage was caused. But I think they are worried that if people did decide to turn, that would have just took over. It would have literally, London would have been ravaged on that day. They had no chance. And they are going to panic about things like that. But we didn't. And that, you know, we didn't.
But we do have to think about tactics. Like, if they bring out the water cannons, to me, the biggest thing, the reason they've chose them is because they're least messy. They're, you know, water dries out. It leaves no marks. The best thing we can do is make it messy.
Yeah. Put some powder paint, get some
yeah.
food in.
Was it that festival that they do in India with the powder?
Yeah.
Powder, you know, or bubbles or things like that. You know, bring bubble bath with you. Have foam parties. You know, don't get clean, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. I think that would be the best way if there's things like that. Because at the end of the day, it'd make London colourful for a day, wouldn't it? Lots of watercolours running down the street. But, it wouldn't be running down the street if they weren't wetting it. So it would be their own fault, really.
And the other thing is, London has a lot of small side streets. These things are too big to get down the side streets. The best thing we can do is learn the side streets, learn the routes, and know which ways to go if they bring one coming down towards us.
Yeah.
I pretty much did that on November Million Mass March, when we were going down Oxford Street and everything, and you could see them bringing in police from both sides and that, and it looked like we were going to get kettled. You know, I was clocking all the little side streets walking down that bit. And I thought, because that's the great thing about London, they'd be buggered if you scattered like ants down them side streets.
Yeah.
They know when
but I think at the minute, because numbers are quite low, which we do have a lot of people not getting involved, possibly, I don't know, there's a lot of events happening, a lot of people can't afford to go to all the events at once. To be honest, an event needs to happen where everyone attends. Everyone does need to make an effort, and everyone needs to come to a conclusion of an event that we can all stand up just like every other country is, without any problems. For some reason, the UK cannot get together on a date.
They did in Manchester when there was like 70,000, but it's cost. You know, the people most likely to protest are those that are the members of our society, and they can't afford the extortionate train fares.
The fares have gone up, everything's gone up. It's all a bunch of things together
Me-
that stop you connecting.
Yeah, you can get the megabus, but that, you know, some of the trips are like 5-6 hours for something that would normally take you like an hour and a half in the car. That's why I think Solidarity Sunday at Balcombe and the NHS March were successful because of the amount of coaches that were laid on. But, you know, a lot of these movements, they don't have the funding to lay coaches on. But protesters can't afford. And there's so many. There's, you know, but I could go out every day this next week. There'd be something going on. There is so many. It is impossible to support them all.
I can't imagine how big that would be if they all actually got together. And you know, and I know we've like with the unions, we've touched on that all together. We know for a fact the unions aren't capable of coming together because they're not capable of protecting their businesses and workplaces anyway, and the people that they are supposed to protect. So we've got a bunch of people that are going to things that they support, but we can't seem to get that common ground together to get them to that one event. If they could go to that one event to fight for fracking, animal rights, anti-austerity, childcare, carers, teachers, NHS, all that kind of thing, if they could all get together, that would be one massive rally of people just saying no.
Well, I hope that maybe people will do that for the funeral for democracy, because that, I think, it's a really fun idea.
Yeah.
I know it's like a funeral and it doesn't sound fun, but, you know, democracy is dead, welcome to the cooperacy. You know, let us stand for the death of the NHS, for the death of the disabled and sick in this country, and for the cuts for the fire service, for fracking, the death of the countryside. You know, let us stand for everything that we are losing.
Yeah, that's the democracy, aren't we? We have lost a democracy, and all those things are involved with the democracy.
I think the Badger Cull has to be one of the biggest proofs that the democracy is dead. They had that vote and they lost that vote, yet they're still going ahead, and all the evidence proves that the cull is not the effective way to go. And before the cull, TB was actually at a low.
Yeah.
A low in the you know, in the figures. So how can you say we live in a democracy when all the things, the evidence, the people, and even the politicians, when they voted against it, but it's still going to go ahead? And to me, it has to be something to do with development, because on my housing estate, right in the middle, we have a badger set. Now, when they built I live on a new estate. If it hadn't been a development, you know, a law somewhere, the developers would have got rid of that badger set and put a house there.
Yeah.
Because that's what people they are. They didn't leave that badger there for the good of its health. You know what I mean? They left it there because they had no choice.
Yeah.
So I think somewhere along the line, it's maybe fracking or developing or whatever in the countryside. And it's not just them. I mean, I see a shooting, like they were going to shoot some wild birds for so that it wouldn't affect the pheasant shoot. You know, these were protected birds, kite or something like that. You know, they weren't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, you think that their disrespect for the countryside is just getting ridiculous.
The fact of the matter is, while the corporations are ruling everything we do in terms of whatever, we've landed ourselves with a tyrant government, and that's what's happened. We've got a tyrant government that's willing to destroy the UK, throw the middle class at the poor class, and take away and privatise every service we've got to corporations. People are worrying about immigrants and saying all these foreigners coming over and taking our jobs, taking our... It's not them taking your jobs. It's the ones that the government's selling it to. They're the ones that are taking our jobs. You know, there's all them, and then you've got everything going on at the minute. The last thing we're going to achieve by having people like that in power is a democracy.
No, and if I had a company that was really successful and I created enough jobs tomorrow that brought down near enough zero unemployment, the government would start cutting jobs as quick as anything, because they don't want zero. They don't want people to have power. And if you've got more jobs than people, you know, the people have the power to choose what they're going to work for, and the government work very hard at making sure that the power is always against the people, not towards the people.
Which I think is why hopefully there'll be a good turnout for the because you know, it's a global event, global funeral for democracy, because it's not just the UK. It seems to be everywhere that has lost their democracy. Everywhere seems to be in turmoil right now, and all we can talk about is the World Cup and, you know, things like that. And I think it'd be good to go out there and put on a good show for the public so that they can see and be interested in something. I think it needs to be quirky now. We can't just march down the street and do it the way we've always done it. It wasn't working. It's not going. I think the quirkiness needed to come in, and it's a funeral march.
Yeah, and we're taking it to the extreme, aren't we? We've got coffins.
Yep, coffins.
We've got top hats for the pallbearers. We've got costumes. Yeah, and we've got hopefully a town crier leading us, and we're going to have, yeah, we're hoping for a New Orleans style funeral procession, aren't we? With the brass
and it'd
band.
be a very slow and very quiet occasion in terms of the way that we're sort of walking. It'll give us plenty of chance to communicate with people around us who ask, and it'll give them plenty of chance to see what we're talking about and interact with them. Whereas we're marching, we go forward, we're shouting, we're doing this. This will give us our chance to give them something to look at, and then there'll be a lot of people who are able to talk, you know. It'll be good.
It will. But and we're going to lots of different like political landmarks, aren't we? So we're going to go to like Downing Street and to the war rooms, down to Parliament.
Yeah.
So that'd be quite fitting with our coffin for democracy.
Yeah.
I just really hope that the numbers get there. That people remember the ideas, because we want all people to wear black, don't we?
Yeah. Like the same as the beach theme, where we want people to actually start trying to be a part of the action itself, you know, like it's the same as that. We want people to dress in the occasion as if they're mourning, whatever they're mourning, because we're all going to be mourning on that point. You know, it's a death of democracy, the death of whatever you've lost, whatever services we've lost, whatever has happened.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some veils and some top hats and some real good clothing to go with it. And, you know,
fracking definitely has to be there, because I think that is got to be the next big, you know, how many polls and that, as just the people always said no.
Yeah.
I think the last one was 95% or 90%.
Yeah.
They did, you know, it was quite high.
Yeah.
People don't want it, and some of the places that they're doing it as well is, you know, like you've got a lot of Cornwall, and you've got a lot of coast, and you've got a lot of national parks and well, woodlands and things like that. Homes, you know, people don't want their homes destroyed by it. And I worry about the radon levels, because I know where I live, the radon levels are really high. And I worry that if they frack nearby, are they going to come out and test all the houses to see whether the radon levels are these? Because I'm already in a red area.
Yeah.
I don't want to be fracking up the road. And I think that, you know, we definitely need at the funeral to send a message about fracking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we could, if people can manage to even get 10, 20 people of each group, then we could have a good amount. You know, if you just think of it that way, of getting people together, if you send a few people from, it would be big.
Yeah.
Instead of one main thing that would be turning up, you know.
And the press definitely also has to be represented, because that, you know, we've been here before with like the water, rail, the Royal Mail, everything that we've had that's been privatised, and the last thing we want is the most precious thing of our. It is.
I don't think people realise what's going to happen once we lose the NHS if they do continue. They're just going to keep selling it off, and I don't think people realise how at risk they are. If you go to America, people die because they haven't got the right insurance, and I know it's harsh, but there is going to be a time where someone's child is going to be dying of leukemia and they haven't got the health insurance that they needed, and they're going to allow their child to die. And I don't see that as being a human right at all. I feel that we built this NHS, and we built it in a recession. We built it at a time when we were low on funds. There is no way in this day and age that NHS is failing. The propaganda the BBC run against it, the propaganda the government run against it. They want it to fail so that they can earn money from it. And at the end of the day, it's a death of a service.
It is, and a much needed service. I mean, the prices in America are way higher than we pay. You know, they're ripped off. But when your life depends on it, you'll pay whatever's dictated to you.
Well, I can't remember how much it was said, but we spend enough money on our army to try and win oil in another country. I don't know, whatever. We spend so much money on that, and it could pay for so much more. It could make the NHS what it needed to be. It could fund the nurses. I can't remember how many jobs it said it would create, but if they took the army away from that, then
I've seen scary figures from all over the world. You know, like it's not that much. It's only a few weeks of like the arms budget. I don't know if it's just the American or English and American. And you'd eradicate world hunger.
And at the end of the day, we pay it with our national insurance contributions. So if we want to keep it, that should be up to us, not up to the government. We pay for it.
See, this is something that I remember reading, that they want to change national insurance, don't they?
I haven't seen that.
I read somewhere they want to change national insurance. We'll change what it's called and change some things about it.
Oh, on the token that they can ditch the NHS from...
The thing is, because of the way the national insurance is done, Parliament can't set the rates.
No.
If they change it to this new thing, they could maybe put it up and down, you know, like they do with tax.
Yeah.
You know, and what would we be paying it for if we haven't got an NHS? I guess they're going to bring out like a private Obamacare.
Yeah. So people can die when they haven't got the right level of care it'd be like what is it, social housing, and it'd be like the payments you get on benefits, the ESA payments and disability payments. It'd be just enough to live, but it wouldn't be enough to make life enjoyable.
Yeah.
And that's where they want people. That's just where they want them.
You have to have a standard of life, though, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
We all deserve quality life.
Yeah, and we all deserve healthcare that we actually pay for.
Yeah, we do.
Without a government trying to steal it and sell it to his friends for some bargain he's made over some, you know, with some corporation. It's just like he has done the schools. You know, they don't give a crap about the schools. The teachers, the students, none of it. From play school to university, they do not give a shit. They are out to suck the life out of education. Education. I think we have to.
Joke. I haven't seen one good academy.
No. I'm totally anti-academy.
Yeah, they are just clones. My youngest two, they go to a little village school, but when they won't go to an academy as their next school.
My son's home educated because they can't provide the education that's required. And I got told perhaps you're looking for something that isn't available. And my idea was, right, we'll make it available then, because if I'm looking for it, a lot of other people are looking for it as well. And that, I think that's the death of education.
And they should be marching into that as well, because and it's the death of free education as well, because like students need to come out, because they are really hit. My daughter's off to university this year, and the amount of debt, it fucking worries me, because I know she's brought and paid for.
Yeah.
You know, she's going to be struggling, and you can say it's only 20. I can't remember what the figure is, 25,000, 27,000 before you pay it back. But try to explain to her it's not that long before a Mac job's going to be paying that, but it doesn't mean you're going to have enough to live on, and you'll have to pay you know, with inflation and things. You could be cleaning a toilet and struggling and have to pay it back in, say, 20 years' time. 10 years.
Yeah, definitely.
It sounds a lot now, but it's really not that much. And these people that made that decision, they all had free education.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And I think Matea said last week about needing degrees in the future for
McDonald's.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Yeah. Well, you think the jobs that we had as kids, the window cleaning, the car washing, the things like that, those are now actually jobs.
Yeah, the things that kids, and you know, my son, he's been out knocking on doors for washing cars. I used to do it all the time, and he's been in trouble for it. He hasn't had a licence, and I'm thinking, you're having a laugh, because, you know, kids, right, even if you are a capitalist, right, they have all, an entrepreneur normally started off when they was a kid doing like some kind of shit, and they got really good at it. I mean, there's that bloke who, I can't remember which one, that started off with cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
He collected the cardboard boxes off at the shops and sold them to people. Made a bloody fortune. You know, you're taking that sort of thing away from children. The learning.
They want them to have a responsibility earlier on in life, yet that what they've done is they've taken their opportunities without having to go through a school education to make means that they're making them rely on their family at home till an older age.
I can see why they don't want us doing it. You know, that our kids going out earning some money and doing all right. You know, I can see that why they wouldn't want it, but I can't see why they would think it was a bad thing on the thing that a lot of them would have started that way. I guess what they wanted the people to have what they had, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you got.
That's the death of rights as well, then, isn't it?
Yeah. It's starting them young, the conditioning that you work for money in set places. You know, God forbid.
Yeah. You learn to be around a working environment. You learn to complete a job for money. You learn to interact with people in that stage. You don't sit there and copy from a textbook and do what all you learn from school. Do what people tell you.
Oh yeah.
That's all it is. It's like a parrot fashion product line of kids that they're just popping out at a rate. You know, there's no benefit to any of it whatsoever. And the students, it's true, their degrees are going to be, their debt's just going to eat them up.
And I don't mean this like disrespectfully, like, because I know a lot of people think that they say that GCSEs are getting easier, and that kind of takes away from what kids, because they do struggle with revising, and they do try hard. Kids try hard for their exams, but on a whole, we don't get taught anything like they did in the old days.
No.
The things, I'm not saying education in the old days was right, because it's a bit strict. You know.
Yeah.
The level of maths and things like that they learn at a young age. I think you only have to look back in time. I mean, we do have the odd child genius still, but I think the fundamentals, they're not. I think that my son's taught how to repeat and how to pass exams, but I don't think he's taught the knowledge of how to work out the actual problem in himself.
No.
And
Which also creates a pitfall for those with autism, Asperger's, those kind of children who need that old school English language kind of way of learning, which is why I think there's a massive rise in kids struggling to integrate. They don't all need to integrate, they just need the requirements where they are. At the minute we've got education, and kids have to learn to, you know, kids with disabilities like that have to learn to get involved and adapt to the school. That should never be that way. The school should be adapted for all kids' needs.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're integrating them all. They're shoving them all in these academies like cattle, and the ones that don't get on are just having to learn to integrate.
There's lots. It's like dyslexia and things like that. They don't mean that a kid can't learn. They just need to be taught a different way.
Well, that's what this whole method of the child. Now they're putting. They're going to fine the parents. They're going to sanction benefits if a child is unruly or doesn't attend school, or if, you know, these kind of things, because they're scaremongering parents into doing what they're told. Because it's getting out of hand. Nobody's happy with the education. Nobody's happy with the settings or school settings. Everyone's pissed off, and the only way they can control it is put another law on it, so that if you break that law, you get your money took off you. So that people shut up.
I think you can judge a lot by a school by how far they're willing to go. Because just because you can do something, it doesn't mean you should do something. And this, like a holiday home, you know, taking holidays and finding parents. I mean, the couples that are facing up to 3 years in prison, and they're both working, but they're 3 months, I think. But they can't pick when they have their holidays and things like that. And they're like, well, it's not right that kids have holidays, but it's an important part of growing up. It is important. I think that, as a head teacher, I would think to myself that the people most likely to do this are actually people who can't afford much. And to give them a fine, that child is actually going to suffer.
Yeah.
You know, if you're sanctioning somebody on benefits that's maybe already struggling, or somebody low working who's already using a food bank and things like that, you are adding to child poverty. And as a good headmistress, or miss, you know, male head teachers too, but, you know, as a good head teacher, you wouldn't want that.
No.
You know which kids maybe, you know, don't have clothes that fit them all the time, or things like that, maybe don't have all the brands in their lunchbox or their PE kit and things like that, and you can maybe tell, and that child deserves a holiday as much as any other child.
Yeah. But instead of helping them, what they'll eventually do is, I would suppose, they'd extend the Cinderella law in terms of neglect would be not being able to provide those things for your children. So that would possibly be the next step for social services, to take children who are underprivileged.
But they have no system in place for these children that they take away.
No.
You know, studies show again and again and again the damage of taking a child away from its mother at a young age does to them.
Yeah, and if they wasn't so strict with, if they didn't stop stealing our money and spending it on expenses and buying Ian Duncan Smith's fucking underwear, if they stopped doing stuff like that, then possibly they could fund the companies or force the companies of the holiday companies to lower their prices. Why should they have ever got that high? Lower the prices of petrol so we can travel more. Lower the prices of, but no, they just can't do it because they're just sucking off of us. They're living in those big giant houses, having second homes, having holidays here and there, having a month off.
Yeah, but
so we all struggle.
Suits them, because those that have would rather go to Cornwall with a handful of people on the beach rather than it be overrun with poor people.
Yeah.
No, it does suit them.
Yeah.
But it's segregation.
Yeah.
Once we were segregated by race, but now we're just segregated by finances.
Yeah.
And race in many, you know, still.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think the race at the minute is big in Europe. Obviously, we've got a massive right-wing sector coming through in Europe at the minute. So race is, but that's the BBC and the government again. Oh, it's not us stealing your money and buying duck houses and having our swimming pools cleaned with all the money that we're borrowing. It's them naughty little immigrants that are coming over and robbing all your jobs. No, it's not. They're just not. They're not providing the jobs. They're making sure that they provide the jobs.
It's the classic tactic of divide and conquer, though, isn't it? Because while we're all fighting amongst ourselves, quibbling over who did what, who gets what, who doesn't get what, those that are robbing us all are just walking away laughing on the sidelines.
Well, you know, look how they reacted with Labour expenses and how it all kicked off. Oh, the expenses. What's happened now? Is everybody just forgot that they're just spending all our money? They just forget.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, who do you vote for? Because to me, there really isn't that much difference.
No.
I mean, I don't think I'll vote on the fact that I don't uphold the system. But if I was to vote, I would vote for Greens. Yeah. They don't get any of the publicity that they deserve because their policies are actually what the people want. Renationalise the energy service, renationalise the travel service, renationalise the water board.
The only problem is with it, I'm quite supportive of the Greens myself, but the only problem is I think that the government system itself is broken. I think it needs a whole reset in terms of the way that it's done. It's not going to work, and that's why I don't think they'll get far because of their policies are better than the policies of the people that run this system.
Yeah. But, you know, the system isn't geared up for the likes of them. It's too much big money.
Whatever government is in power owns the BBC. The BBC is never, ever going to show coverage of...
It might change now that they're not going to get their funding.
It might do, because you think there's a lot of people now who have boycotted the TV licence, and now it's known that it is not a legal requirement to pay it. We don't have to pay it. So as soon as people realise that, I don't think if they realise they don't have to pay £12 a month TV licence, is that how much it is? I can't remember. Something like that. If they
about pay as you go, doing away with the TV licence.
Yeah.
I wouldn't people that like EastEnders enough to pay for it.
Well, that's why they send out these threatening letters to make people think they still have to pay it, but they actually don't. And when they realise that there's no law making us do it. It's a company that supports paedophiles. It's seriously wrong to support them.
Which kind of brings us back to the 21st, and is that the BBC?
Yeah.
The assembly thing.
Yeah, it's at the BBC with that bunch of paedophiles.
So I wonder how many anti-media things you'll have outside the BBC.
Well, I don't know, because they've got Russell Brand, which I think the media is going to want to see what he's. I don't know. They might not. They'll, you know what they're like. Who was the other one that people were?
I think is supposed to be speaking.
Yeah.
There's a few comedians, I'm sure.
I'm sure there was somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but there's.
Owen Jones, is it? Owen Jones?
Owen Jones, yeah. Owen Jones is coming. So there's going to be quite a big amount of people that are higher up in there, have managed to get a bit of media status, and they're going to be there. So I've got a feeling there's going to be, you know, quite a bit of media. Then you've got is it Milton Keynes People's Assembly are bringing.
Yeah, I saw something like giant inflatable boats or something. I don't know.
Something like that. I think it's going to be a really absurd day, and I think it's going to be quite a fun one, actually. I'm looking forward.
People's Assembly, you know, austerity. It's austerity cuts that the NHS is under. You know, all we've got to cut back. It's the fire service, the fire stations that have closed are down to austerity. You know, the disabled deaths that we've had. So, you know, hopefully a lot of these people affected by these things will come out on the 21st and support the People's Assembly.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that are thinking of how to get there will meet us at 12 o'clock and join us for the tube ride.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone wants to get to that People's Assembly with friends, see friends, good friends, come with us.
Yeah, we'll be at Trafalgar Square from 11, but we'll be getting ready for the tube ride at 12, meditating for an hour.
Yeah.
Before.
Yep. Are we going to cut this short?
Do you want to?
Yeah.
All right then.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Stay online.